I have been subjected to municipal bullying and harassment that is draconian in my view. This is the second time ever that Auckland Council has attempted to force the sale of a freehold property. And with me, I'm an anti-corruption citizen whistleblower who's absolutely unprotected by legislation. And I have made a stand, and I'm not backing down. I'm trying to hold Auckland Council accountable to the rule of law being the Public Records Act 2005, which states, Section 17, all public bodies and local authorities must create and maintain full and accurate records in accordance with prudent business practice, including all matters contracted out to independent contractors. That's the law. Well, how that affects each ratepayer, I mean, council keeps wanting more and varied types of rates. Where are rates monies being spent? And the amount of monies that are being spent across Auckland Council and Auckland Council, i.e. corporate controlled organisations, on private sector consultants and contractors is enormous. What I want published on the website of Auckland Council and Auckland Council controlled organisations under procurement awarded contracts are the following details of awarded contracts: the unique contract number, the name of the consultant or contractor, a brief description of the scope of the contract start and finish dates, the exact dollar value that attaches to each and every contract including those subcontracted, and how was the contract awarded, by direct appointment or public tender. That's it. I have been making this stand for 11 years, and thanks to largely my heavy lifting, the books are a lot more open than they were before, but we've not quite finished. I offered Auckland Council on the 26th of January how we could resolve this. How we could resolve this was withdraw the proceedings to force the sale of my house, but I will work with Council in order to finish the job and open the books. I have a quality assurance background. I have a good grasp of process, and I have now been to 7 international anti-corruption conferences, including last year I was invited to The Hague as New Zealand International Rule of Law expert. So I was invited and I attended, and I got public support to get over there. I said, my broomstick's buggered. If you want me to go over to The Hague, it's a huge honour, I need you to help. And I got the $5,000 to get over there in 7 days. Well, I just believe that this transparency in public spending is massive. And what I believe is that the basis of the neoliberal myth and mantra, public is bad, private is good, they just made it up. Because when you ask for evidence that proves that that was the case, there isn't any. So when I went to the Transparency International Conference in 2010, what the global procurement market was in 2010 was $14 trillion, of which it was estimated $2.5 trillion was estimated to be lost in bribery and corruption. My little peasant brain went tick, tick, tick. $2,500 billion. Wouldn't that help feed, clothe, water and shelter a few poor people? And then I realised to my horror that Transparency International, they were not focused on the underpinning private procurement model, they were focused on the process. And to me, they weren't getting to the root cause of this corruption, which was the contracting out of public services. And that's why I believe that what I'm doing is very significant. I believe I'm one of the few people in the world who's actually saying the root cause of so much grand corruption is privatisation, contracting out. Who else is saying that? Private procurement model means that public services provided by local and central government, instead of being provided in-house by people directly employed, what it is, it's contracted out. But the problem is, as soon as you get into contracting out, you get into contract management. And they say, oh, council, government staff, they're too dumb to know how to do that. What we need is the consultants to project manage the works contractors, who then subcontract, then subcontract again in a lot of cases. So by the time you get to the boots and overalls, actually getting their hands dirty, doing something productive, there may be 3 or 4 layers of pinstripe suit, clip, clip, clip the ticket. We're paying for that. How is that cost effective? Well, to be honest, I don't think what we used to have was actually broken. You know, like the days of the Ministry of Works, the days of council works departments, what was broken? But they, you know, they came up with that myth, no, public is bad, private is good, we can do things more efficiently. Efficient, in my experience, is corporate speak for we haven't yet got our filthy hands on it. That's my view, yeah. There has been a very significant study which proves how contracting out is actually twice as expensive as in-house service provision, and that was carried out by POGO, Project on Governmental Oversight, and they are a non-governmental organisation, an NGO, based in the United States at federal government level, who spent 3.5 years checking 550 different service activities, and the results of their research were astonishing, that actually contracting out was twice as expensive. And that is one of the few studies that's been done to check this. Well, given that there is so much contracting out locally, nationally and internationally, wouldn't you think that people who were really worried about the spending of public money might have actually researched this a little bit earlier? I have made many requests to Auckland Council directly. I have actually been granted speaking rights to Auckland Council governing body and committees more than any other citizen, and I know because I've checked the minutes. And I've looked into the reds of their eyes and I've said, why is it my job to tell you your job? You swore an oath to the public to uphold the law. Here is the law, the Public Records Act. Why is it not being implemented and enforced? Please instruct the CEO to comply with the law and make this information available for public scrutiny. And thanks largely to my work, I can show where I have managed to help prise open the books, because back in October 2014, I said, how come Auckland Transport provides a lot of the information I'm seeking? Surely good enough for Auckland Transport, a council-controlled organisation, good enough for Auckland Council, because at that stage, Auckland Council and Watercare Services, another council-controlled organisation, provided zip, no information about awarded contracts. Thanks to me, you know, sticking my neck out over my house and taking matters directly to council, CEO Stephen Town said that made a commitment to opening the books, and from April 2015, some of the information was provided. Then what happened was I went to a Watercare Board meeting in, I think it was May 2015, and I said, why aren't you complying with the Public Records Act? And made a fuss. Within 2 months, Watercare started providing the same information as Auckland Council. Not the full 9 yards as I'm asking for, but at least a step along the way. Now, I'm doing all this unpaid. I'm doing all the heavy lifting. I go to council meetings and I get council sort of pat on the head, good work, Penny, good work, and my reward is you're going to sell my house. How does that work? I don't do this for reward, but back in 2010, in July 2010, I actually got a Good Citizen Award under the old Auckland City Council, and that was from the Mount Eden Albert Community Board, and it got a bit of publicity at the time because it was a bit controversial, but for 2 things. One was my fight to help stop water privatisation, but the other was my fight for transparency in contracting. So how does that work? Under Auckland City Council, although I'm disputing and not paying my rates at the same time, I get a Good Citizen Award, some recognition for the work that I'm doing in a positive way. Under Auckland Council, I help prise the books open, arguably way more than I did with Auckland City Council, and my house is being threatened with a forced rating sale. How on earth does that work? There are a number of people that that put forward the line, we all have to pay our rates, why don't you? And my reply to that is that if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And if you don't fight to defend the rights you're supposed to have, you lose them. I know my lawful rights as a citizen, and I also know Auckland Council's statutory duties. And what I would say to a number of people, especially when I get a bit exasperated, you may choose to be a sheepish slave, I don't. And I'm making a stand which actually everybody will end up benefiting from, because the first step to checking for cost effectiveness is knowing where the costs fall. Because my secondary argument is to look at bringing as many council services as possible back in-house. Opening the books, cutting out the consultants and the contractors, bringing it back in-house. Step number one, get the books open to find out exactly where the costs fall. As a whistleblower, some people confuse whistleblowing with trumpet blowing. Arguably they might be a bit connected, but the idea that I'm blowing the whistle to make a fuss and get publicity for myself, no, I'm making a fuss to get publicity about the issue. That's what whistleblowers do. You know, and usually whistleblowers as such aren't actually part of a group, and I do a lot of work on a number of issues with a number of groups, and I have since I was 18, over a whole range of different social justice, human rights, etc. issues. But as far as being a whistleblower is concerned, it started with the fight against water privatisation. I just sort of discovered, you know, the whole contracting thing, and then I went down the rabbit hole. And then in, I think it was 2008, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, because I discovered the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption. I thought, oh my God, they're saying exactly what I'm saying about the need for transparency in contracting. This, when you're freehold house on the line, it is really stressful, and it goes straight here, it goes straight to my gut, and there's something to be said about having the guts to do something, and that's how it's actually, there is actually a physical effect, but I'm not backing down because I'm not wrong, and faint heart never won fair go. Now, Mayor Phil Goff had promised transparency. Where is it? I'm doing the heavy lifting. Come on, Mayor Phil Goff, you promised transparency. Why don't you just instruct CEO Stephen Town to back off the rating sale and open the books? The only person who can lawfully authorise the forced rating sale is CEO Stephen Town. Now, CEO Stephen Town, back in October 2014, made a statement that was widely published everywhere. Ms. Bright has made wild and inaccurate accusations about the council and its probity, and is using that as an excuse not to pay her fair share of the rates. He didn't say, in my opinion. He didn't provide one skerrick of evidence to back up where Ms. Bright is wild and inaccurate. In fact, that cuts to my very core as an investigative activist who places a huge amount of effort in getting my facts straight. And so under Section 25 of the Defamation Act, I said, apologise, retract 10 grand compensation. Nope, okay. Apologise, retract 20 grand compensation, or it's going to the High Court. Nope. 2.5 years later, is it dragged through the High Court. And of course, there is a bottomless pit of public money to be used, and over $207,000 was spent by Stephen Town on Simpson Grierson, top defamation lawyer. My case ended up basically being thrown out, but be that as it may, Stephen Town has still never provided a skerrick of evidence about where I've been factually inaccurate in anything I have ever said about Auckland Council. And I would call on anybody at any time, please point a stick any time I have been factually inaccurate. So I believe there is malice, and I believe that the basic principles of natural justice are not being followed, where someone who I believe has got malice against me is the same person authorising the forced rating sale of my property. What I want is Auckland Council to comply with the Public Records Act regarding rate spending on private sector consultants and contractors. I want those six key points made available for public scrutiny on the websites of Auckland Council and Auckland Council controlled organisations. Under procurement, awarded contracts, the unique contract number, the name of the consultant or contractor, a brief description of the scope of the contract, contract start finish dates, the exact dollar value that attaches to each and every contract, including those subcontracted, and how was the contract awarded, by direct appointment or public tender. We haven't got there yet. We're getting there, and I've offered to help. What I am doing is I'm authorising someone I know and trust to set up a Give a Little page, and what I am seeking is, if people want to help, I would like that $20,000 that would cover the rates for the time that I've disputed and refused to pay them. I would like that $20,000, which on the face of it might seem a lot of money, but really, I mean, it's 1,000 people, $20. And I believe, given the amount of public support out there, that is very easily achievable. And I would like to have that money there, sitting there, money talks, to be able to say to the council, here's the money for the outstanding rates. Let me help you finish the job, finish opening the books, and it will be paid.